Today we will be going and visiting Ike, and we will be also talking about a little bit about KSP2 and Colonies, which is the next coming update from what I understand. And to make this visual, and I wanted to really show you how huge of an impact will be, we will be launching a rocket from Minmus. So imagine that we have built a rocket going to Ike and fulfilling the Ike contract on Minmus colony and launch it. But of course, since the update is not out, we really have to build that rocket and bring it over to Minmus. So I'm going to be taking care of everything. I'm going to be showing you, including the tech tree, which is kind of used, and what nodes did I unlock. It's a part of our ongoing Let's Play of KSP2. We're going to be showing the building of how I built the part that would be going off from Minmus colony, and then I will be wrapping it up into a huge launcher that will be going all the way to Minmus. So the mission that we're fulfilling today will be 3 is a company. Land on Ike with a crew of 3. But as an additional challenge, we're going to be imagining as if we were supposed to launch it from our Minmus colony, because it's going to be different. KSP2 colonies are going to bring a radical change to how KSP2 works and plays, due to the reason I'm going to be showing you a little bit later in the video. There are a lot of different additional challenges that those things pose, and also we'll be discussing all together a little bit more. So right now I'm researching, I'm just fulfilling, the level 2 tech tree, because I did unlock the epic fairings, the XL fairings, and I figured, well, I don't have enough points to uncover anything else, so might as well, fulfill the entire tier 2 tech tree. And that's something that I definitely can do. So yeah, tier 2 tech tree fulfilled. Check. Awesome. So we have a little bit more. Now let's go into the building phase. So first things first. First I'm going to be building what I'm considered to be the rocket, as if I was building it on Minmus colony. So that includes, of course, the crew module that will be returning back from Ike, and this time it will be returning back to Kerbal. Then we have obviously the reaction wheels, we have a battery, and we're going to be planning how much delta V we need for a round trip to Ike. And as you can see, it's 10,580 if we will be launching from Kerbal. However, if we are launching from Minmus, I can pretty much guarantee you we might need 1/3 of it. Almost. For the return trip, we might need up to 5,000 delta V, not 10,000 for sure, in the slightest. Because of the many reasons. Ike gravity is obviously not too much, and the Minmus gravity is pretty much insignificant. So having said that, that means that we don't need to overcome the Kerbal atmosphere and the Kerbal gravity to get this rocket into space. It already pretty much is into space. So as long as we basically take off from Minmus and get into the Minmus orbit, we are already in space. Second reason, while we're building, we might as well get an assist from Kerbal, gravity assist, that will propel us and shoot us outwards to Duna, where we will be conducting the mission. But we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. The lander has been constructed, so that's the stage that I plan that will be landing on Ike. And in addition, I have added a cargo bay where I will be hosting all the experiments, or actually, everything that we need to perform additional science. So might as well add it, and I might as well add a little bit battery here, and for good measure. And we have already the solar panels. We're going to be adding the ladder, because we do really want to get out of things and into things as we can. And thinking about it, the ladder actually looks good. I'm wondering if I should probably take the medium ladder. I don't need the large ladder. Yeah, two medium ladders would be enough to get the crew safely onto the surface and return from the surface of Ike. The antenna we're going to be using to send the science back, and I'm really curious, how much it's going to take, because so far we have been needing a lot of delta V to get to Duna and back, and of course most of it is tied to Kerbal. Minmus is already in pretty high energy orbit, or pretty, high altitude orbit around Kerbal, so all that energy when we are launching is pretty much given to us by the fact that we are on Minmus. So I was thinking I'm gonna build this rocket, and I'm gonna have it, I do want to have around 5,000-ish meters per second. I don't think I need more, to be honest, for a full return trip. So if I go with, the engines, okay, hold on. Alright, so basically one skipper and three, and also guys, here is an additional consideration. Given that we are already in space and vacuum, we don't need to have the swivels. I thought about having the swivels, but we don't need them. The skipper, and also we're going to be putting here the small ones, right? Yeah, there we go. So those engines are optimized for vacuum because we don't need to overcome the atmosphere. We don't need to go via atmospheric drag, so we don't need high thrust to weight. We could immediately go with the high efficiency engines from the get-go. That's one of additional benefits. Since I will need to have, I don't have a launch pad on Minmus, I'm going to be taking this huge landing legs, which will add as my stabilizers for the surface of Minmus. And this is the craft that I do plan to launch from Minmus. As you can tell, with this craft, I could be going one way to Duna, maybe. If I'm lucky. If I really manage to get efficient transfers and everything, I might just get to Duna, but I think Duna is usually north of 6,000 and something meters per second delta V. So in normal case, there would be no way in hell we could get and land on Ike and return on Ike in this case. If we were building it on the Minmus colony though, that might be a whole different story. And that's what I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you how radically your vehicle designs will change, and also what additional things you need to learn to be able to do such things. Basically take off from Minmus colony and just go, you know, to Duna or whatever. So, as we are building, I'm actually putting things now into the action groups, because action groups are kind of important. We want to make sure that we have everything under control. I want to put this landing legs because once we will be landing on Minmus, this will be our ascent stage, so yeah. I was thinking of putting additional landing legs, but I don't really think we need them. I think this large three will do just nicely. Okay, so now it's time that we finally build the launcher that will be getting this rocket all the way to Minmus. And what better way to package it, you know, like your regular FedEx. So I was thinking to put it like this, but you know, and I don't know, FedEx just sounded like fat ass. I didn't mean it to be fair, but let's just see. I was trying to actually close the fairing here, but for some reason KSP2 didn't allow that. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna be extending this and I will be closing it one way or the other here. There we go. Beautiful. So that's our payload. Now we need to get this thing to Minmus. And also, obviously we need a little bit of extra delta V just for the soft landing on Minmus, but that's, you know, negligible. We're talking about 300 meters per second delta V. So now, trip planner, we're gonna be going one-way trip to Minmus, and for that we need 5,000 meters per second, roughly. Now, that's kind of the ballpark. So I should probably ignore the fact that I already have 5,000 meters per second delta V in the previous stages, and I have to just focus what is below the fairing. And below the fairing, so that gives us a roughly, if we need 5,000, we need around 10,000-ish meters per second in the launch vehicle altogether. So that's something to discuss. So now we're gonna be putting, you know, the decoupler, and I'm planning to put like multiple size 2.5 meter tanks, or maybe I could go with the big ones. Yeah, let's go with the 3.75, and maybe I should be putting the Mammoth at the bottom. Yeah, and if I go with 3, I think that would work perfectly. I wanted to go with the, you know, design and aesthetic of Delta for heavy, but I don't think my Delta V would approve, so I decided to go with 3 of them. Just to be a little bit on the safe side. I know I'm always over-engineering my designs, but speaking of which, you know, you get to get things there. And I don't want to be expending any fuel from my rocket, which is in the fairing. So rocket in the fairing can expend just a little bit amount of delta V just for the landing burn. You know, just to feather down the impact on the surface of Minmus. So that's something that we obviously need to take into account. Alright, speaking of that, I think that this rocket looks good enough and we should start landing, because we now have to make sure that we take decouplers, because these are huge rockets and they will be decoupling in the Kerbin's atmosphere. So that means most likely than others, they will be crashing into the ascent stage. So we really need to put Separatrons just to make sure that they get pushed a bit away from the launch vehicle. Well, the launch vehicle looks good, so I'm gonna be putting the famous trio, Jeb, Bill and Bob, into the rocket, and after that we will be launching. So let's get ready for the showdown. Alright, after physics initially freaked out, this is the retry, and we're getting ready. Ignition, and we have liftoff. For your convenience, this is accelerated 4 times, and just in case you're asking, whoa, GrunfWorks, you're getting pretty smooth frame rate, everything looks so fluid. Yeah, because that's accelerated 400%. Yeah, well, I cannot complain. Honestly, I've been getting pretty decent performance from the For Science update and the subsequent update 2.1, I mean it's 0.21. I'm pretty happy with the way the game is at the moment, so of course I cannot wait to get the colonies in. I think I will have a blast once that comes. What about you? Are you looking forward to the KSP2 colonies? Let me know in the comments below. And we have obviously the booster separation, and we are gonna go for the periapsis. All in all, everything looks great. Right. So the moment we get out of the atmosphere and get to 100 kilometer apoapsis, we're gonna ditch the fairing, because that in itself also has a decent amount of weight packed into it. The bigger the fairing, the bigger the weight, so we do really want to get out of that, just to make sure that we nicely circularize it. As I said, guys, I will be showing you the entire ascent. If you're really curious about just the part where when we launch off from Minmus, well, you can just basically skip ahead. I'm going to be providing probably the timestamps in the comments below, just so you can, you know, skip if you really need to. Alright, fairing is gone, and here we have a rocket on top of a rocket. Well, you know, feels like, you know, a game of Matryoshka doll, if you want to, you know, these kind of things. It's kind of funny. Anyway, we do have a burn that we need to 1138 to circularize, which we will be doing for the most part on our main stage and a little bit on the Minmus transfer stage. So there we go, hitting the afterburners, and oh, bye-bye fairing. Thanks for all the fish, and then we're going away, and once again, once the stage dives down, we're gonna do a stage sep. And stage sep, and there we go. Now we're running on vacuum optimized engines, and I think this one is a Rhino, right? I think it's Rhino. Yeah, 3.75 vacuum optimized engine. Let me know in the comments below if I got it wrong. I think it's Rhino. Anyway, the next thing to do, we will need to basically do a Minmus set as a target and just make sure that we can get all the way there, which means we need to perform an inclination change followed by a burn. So here is that inclination change burn. It's gonna be 211 meters per second, and then we're gonna be going all the way to Minmus. By the way, when we're talking about a little bit, let's get back to the subject of colonies. From what I understood from the comments and a little bit of material, those will be additional base pieces that you will need to be sending in orbit to create, you know, like orbital shipyards, or bases that will be on surface bases like, you know, Minmus base, which will eventually, as you evolve them, they will be getting, you know, even the launch pads and the building facilities. And guys, if you go to the tracking station, you will notice that we already have the first colony in the game. The first colony being the KSC, because if you go into this, you know, tracking station and you list it under the list of colonies, you will see the colony called KSC. So technically, colonies are already a part of KSP2, although it's not what we've been waiting for. It's gonna come. I'm pretty stoked, and I just want to make sure that the devs release it. I will be very happy if the devs, you know, release it in a good state where it's nice and playable. And of course, we're gonna need to iterate. I mean, it's pretty much a given because, well, it's completely brand new content. It's the first time in Kerbal Space Program history when we are going beyond the scope of the original game. And that's gonna be just amazing. I cannot wait until they come. I cannot wait to play them. By the way, if you have probably sharp-eyed among you have noticed that we are performing a little bit of gravity assist by the moon. So I mean, it's not technically required, but it is definitely a cherry on top, and I think that will be amazing. So we have a transition going all the way from Kerbin, bye-bye Kerbin, via the moon, and all the way to Minmus. So here we go. We're just performing at the moon. I was thinking to do a tiny, you know, correction to get ourselves nicer periapsis around Minmus. So why the hell not? It's 10 meters per second, so, you know, might as well perform it at somewhere around Minmus or moon periapsis. Alright, so we are performing a tiny burn at the moon periapsis just to correct our Minmus periapsis, because it's most efficient. It's the best place to do it, so why not do it? We've got to be efficient just to make sure, you know, have it in a good place. So, speaking of that, the periapsis on the Minmus is going down to 30-ish. I'm gonna leave it right there. We're gonna delete this and let's continue. Alright, getting into the Minmus and Minmus sphere of influence. We will be doing it right about now-ish. Okay, getting ready for the Minmus transfer. There we go, coming in. We're coming in hot. Beautiful, and there we go. We are officially in the Minmus sphere of influence, and I just realized I'm coming in on the wrong side. Okay, no biggie, we have plenty of delta V. I'm gonna just go and, you know, transfer this, basically burn radially inwards, and just make sure that we do a transfer. It's gonna be a tiny burn, 24 meters per second. After all, we have plenty of this in this stage, and ultimately I don't care about the delta V that I need to spend here, because all in all we really should be getting down to the Minmus surface. All of this is just to basically for me to show you guys how the Minmus launch from the Minmus colony would look like. And for the simplicity of reasons and the flatness of surface, I have decided that the Minmus colony will be on one of its ice sheets. So on one of these ice sheets or lakes, we're gonna have a Minmus colony there. I don't know what is this weird pulsing when I'm accelerating. No idea. But yeah, like, look at this. Beautiful transfer on our way to Minmus, and there we go. We're gonna get there and it's gonna be awesome. Right, so why have I chosen Minmus to show and talk about the colonies? I could have easily gone with Moon, yes. However, going on from the Moon would mean that we don't have an orbital inclination to think about, and also we have a lower energy orbit than the Minmus. Lower energy means closer to Kerbin, so we would need more delta V to get into the moon sphere, in the moon's orbit from the moon surface, and we would need higher energy to get ejected out of the, basically out of Kerbin's system. So that's the reason why I wanted to show Minmus, because it's kind of almost like extreme. It has very low gravity, which means rockets really don't need to be too fancy to basically go to Duna, and also it doesn't getting into the sphere. It also has an inclination, which is basically, you will need to take that into account when launching, so that's another thing to take care of. Right, we have a total of 374 meters per second in this stage, which should be just enough for us to basically decelerate and vertically land on this frozen lake. Yeah, as you can tell, we have plenty of delta V, and right, yeah. Terrier, those were the names of these extra engines on the side boosters that will be used to launch off of Minmus. Right. Alright, pointing the rocket down, basically, surface down. And we're gonna be performing a final feather before we decouple this big booster. I want to be performing it a little bit closer to the ground, so I expend as little delta V as possible from the main stage. So there we go. And let's decouple it. There we go. We have fired off the Terriers. We have 5,467 meters per second of delta V in this stage, and I expect that I will be spending roughly maybe 100 to maybe 200 meters per second just for the landing burn. maybe even less than that. After all, Minmus has such low gravity. We have extended the landing legs, and here we go. 100 meters off the ground, just slowly decelerating for a nice, smooth touchdown and jump down. One thing I forgot, basically I have auto suspensions on, which means this craft when landing will be doing a yo-yo. Yeah, okay. Note to myself, next time when I'm trying to show off, try to do it right. Okay, are you done yo-yo bowling here? Come on, I'm trying to have a tutorial here. Right, okay, so in ideal case, this would be our lander. Or actually, this would be our rocket that would be taking off from the launch pad that would be constructed from the Minmus colony. So, speaking about that, we have 5,400 meters per second, and when launching, we need to consider a few things. One of them being positioning. As you can see here, Kerbin, we have the KSC with the icon for the colonies. We have chosen the position when it's optimal to do a Duna transfer window, and I have been really deliberate in terms of how will be Minmus positioned to Kerbin. So we had 5,430 meters per second of delta V, and take a look. 100 meters per second already gets us a nice periapsis, followed by another 100-ish to get us fully orbital around Minmus. So we're talking 200 meters per second just to get orbital compared to the Kerbin's 3,500 meters per second. So this is why I'm thinking the main reasons how colonies, for example, a Minmus surface colony would radically change, and I'm not talking about resources that need to be collected. That will be coming later on, further patch after. However, just the aspect of building a colony, supplying it, obviously it has to be supplied with, I guess, power and everything else for it to function, but when you build it long enough that you have the launch pads, that's when you have to think about building and launching the rockets. And as you can tell, 200 meters per second-ish will buy us a full circle around Minmus. We're gonna try and sum up how much delta V we would really need to get from Minmus all the way to Kerbin. So now we have to eject ourselves, and now I'm trying to find an ideal transfer. So the ideal transfer, it will be where we get the Kerbin periapsis as low as possible. So my plan will be that we have a very low periapsis around Kerbin. I'm talking just out of the atmosphere to get the maximum push from the Kerbin's gravity when ejecting. And I have been deliberately positioning Minmus, as you can tell, compared to the Kerbin's elliptical and the way out, so that once we get to the periapsis, Kerbin would shoot us out of the Kerbin sphere of influence. So that's the idea. So I'm gonna go basically as low as possible. Here we go, 1,400. I'm gonna just reduce it to, I don't know, 500 and something. I'm thinking I'm gonna go just 70 kilometers. Not 340 kilometers. So I just need to do a little bit of a fiddling. Usually, really, this is the place where a precise maneuver node planner would do wonders. So as you can tell, I'm now fiddling a little bit with the node because I really want to get this right. I want also to make sure that I have killed off any orbital inclination compared to Minmus, hopefully. That's the plan, and let's see how it looks from the Kerbin. 125, okay, so a little bit of fiddlage. Okay, 80, 90, 100. To me, that looks good enough. And it's 161, so total our budget to get us to Kerbin periapsis is 361, and we will be in much higher energy orbit compared if we just went from the Kerbin surface. So now I'm just trying to see, when I got shot up, how much would the second maneuver node require? And sadly, it appears that KSP2 is not yet on that level. So when I created the second burn, it doesn't calculate this. Devs, if you're watching this, this would be an ideal place where I would like to switch between my maneuver nodes, maneuver node 1 and maneuver node 2. Okay, having said that, I realize there's no point in, wallowing about it, so let's just accelerate to the maneuver, and we will be hoping that the gods of Oberth effect will be forever in our favor. Yes. Right, so we're gonna be going pointing maneuver prograde, and we're gonna burn to get that low Kerbin periapsis that I have been, you know, yapping about for the better part of the 20 minutes. Right. Okay, 10 seconds, it's coming up. But please observe, all of these are tiny delta V maneuvers compared to the Kerbin. The big one will be ejection to Duna. I mean, granted, that's pretty much a given, but I still expect it to be significantly lower than if I was to burn directly from the 100 by 100 circular orbit around Kerbin, because as you can tell, our orbit is already extruded to the Minmus level, so we do get an implicit 1000, I think, ish push. So let's see, 87 already shoots us out. Alright, and a total burn of, let's say, 300 additional meters per second would almost get us to Duna. So that means for the pretty decent Duna encounter, it would take us approximately 500 meters per second. So calculating from the liftoff and going with the liftoff from Minmus, Minmus circular orbit, ejection to Kerbin, and then a kick, basically a gravity assist of Kerbin going to Duna, the total budget is around 800 meters per second. Compared that to 3,500 to get into Kerbin orbit, followed by 1,500 just to eject to Duna. So we're talking 800 meters per second compared to, let's say, 5,000-ish meters per second to get towards Duna. Isn't that crazy? I would certainly think so. And also, we have to think about this orbital inclination and also mastering the art of the gravity assists, because those things will allow you to build tiny rockets, and I'm talking seat of pants industries like. I mean, old KSP players will know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about seat of the pants industries. That guy was a YouTuber who was actually legendary in terms of creating tiny contraptions, basically almost to the point where a kerbal would need to go out and push its craft with these EVA jets just to make sure they get into orbit. So his calculations were, you know, really seat of pants, literally. Anyway, our required delta V is 467, so already our budget to land on Ike would be roughly on the 800 meters per second side. Alright, so there we go. And we're performing the burn to get, hoping, as I said, the gods of Oberth effect will be forever in our favor. So there we go. Burn is happening for your convenience in 4 times acceleration, just to make it, you know, nice and snappy. Right. Okie doke. There we go. We're close enough. I'm not gonna do another burn until we get out of the Kerbin sphere of influence, because we could get an unwanted gravity assist by Mun or Minmus or something like that, but I could fix the orbital inclination because we are close to the ascending node. So let me just see, is there a way I could cancel this orbital inclination compared to Duna? So if we focus on Duna, this is usually how you can, you know, do a decent encounter. Focus on Duna and let's do some fiddlage. If I'm trying to kill that... Oh, we do have a Duna periapsis. Why, you don't say. In that case, I'm just gonna be burning until I get a decent enough periapsis within Duna. I'm just trying to fill, and that's gonna be requiring another 200. So we're talking now roughly that we are roughly on par of 1000 meters per second-ish to secure us a Duna encounter, going from Minmus. In normal case, this wouldn't be enough. This would be maybe enough to get us, you know, Kerbin apoapsis of 100 kilometers, and that's it. Alright, decouple the Terrier engines. We are only on the skipper stage now, and I'm just making sure that I'm burning in the right direction. Duna periapsis, going. 12, 11 kilometers. Okay, seems like it's gonna go further out, so I'm not gonna be spending the entirety of my, you know, 300 meters per second burn. Bye-bye, Kerbin, and, you know, it was nice. Thanks for the gravity assist. Thanks for the kickback. Really cool to have you. Alright. Bye-bye, Moon. And bye-bye, Minmus, our sweet would be base of operations in the future. By the way, guys, do let me know in the comments below, once when the colonies come out, where would you like to have your shipbuilding colony? Would it be Moon, Minmus, Kerbin Orbit? Let me know in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear from you what would be your preferred location for a colony within the Kerbin's sphere of influence, but which will be basically shooting out rockets to the rest of the Kerbola system. If it's out of the Kerbin sphere of influence, of course, then, you know, do let me know around which body, but I'm just curious. I'm pretty sure it will be really fun to read the comments when you provide them, guys, so yeah. Alright, anyway, I'm creating a second correction burn, which will be a tiny burn. It will be a couple of meters per second, but it will secure us a very nice Duna. Whoa, 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 whoa. Not Duna, Ike periapsis. Oh, and if we manage to get Ike periapsis, that means we won't even be going around Duna and doing the inclination. We are going straight for Ike. Because we like Ike. Okay, great. 6 meters per second. Here I have to really throttle down the skipper engine because it's way too powerful for this burn. So I think a total skipper is burning now with the percentage, I think it's 1% of the engine thrust. I had to engage the thrust limiter because, well, it was just going nuts. Okay, coming into the Duna periapsis, and once we enter, we're gonna be, for the first time, our Kerbals have gone interplanetary, or actually, it's not for the first time. The first ones went to a little bit backwards. Okay, Bill is freaking out for some reason. Alright, but anyway, our Kerbals, this is our first visit to Duna, because this is the first time we have come to Duna. Wow. Amazing. Transfer all the sweet science that you can gather, guys. Jeb, Bill, and Bob. The famous trio. The trio that has always been in our hopes and dreams. So, okay, speaking now, I should do some maneuver node fiddlage to make sure that we have a nice encounter. Okay, Duna and Ike periapsis. I would like to correct my Ike periapsis to be a little bit more equatorial. After all, I do want to come back from Ike, so I told you, in this episode we will be going to Ike, but in a follow-up episode I want to return my 3 Kerbals back from Ike, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have enough oomph to do that. So, you know. Alright, after a bit of fiddling, I think for 8 meters per second I was able to correct my Ike periapsis. I wanted to save you a lot of fiddlage. Basically, it's the whole episode recording took around 3.5 hours to do. So it's quite a substantial amount of time, and I had to condense it to a, you know, digestible part, at least in terms of, you know, talking about the colonies, talking about everything here. So as you can see, colonies, in my opinion, will radically change the way we experience KSP2 today. Both in terms of sending huge payloads either into orbit to assemble the colony, then building according to with the resources which we will have, but that will be coming much further down the line, and planning how to eject out of colonies, basically get into the orbit of the body unless it's already an orbital shipyard, and then shooting it out of the Kerbola system, or, you know, of the, sorry, Kerbin sphere of influence, not the Kerbola system, Kerbin sphere of influence, to ensure that we get a nice gravity assist. It will be really fun to see, can we get maybe to, I don't know, Ike just on monoprop? I'm pretty sure Matt or, you know, Shadowzone or one of those two crazy guys, they're gonna grill this to the death. I'm pretty sure of it. Anyway, as we can say, we have 1071 meters per second burn to get into the Ike's orbit, and that, guys, is the biggest burn if you're launching from Minmus. So just getting into the Ike orbit is the same amount it took us to get to Ike. I just want you to think about that for a second. So it takes more energy and delta V to get into the Ike's orbit than it takes you to get from Minmus via Kerbin to Ike. Crazy, I know. Alright, so here we are burning our skipper with the full thrust just to make sure that we get a very, very nice Ike periapsis, and after that we will be trying to get landed on Ike. After all, we don't have a particular, you know, landing spot where we want to go. It's basically just landing on Ike, collecting the surface, and we will be fulfilling the contract which was basically given to us as a part of our Let's Play. I do want to fulfill all contracts, guys, so, you know, for funsies. Like periapsis, we're going to be reducing our periapsis as much as we can so that we can get a very nice encounter. So, oh, no, not yet on the surface. Okay, good. Let's keep it at around 12 kilometers. It's a decent orbit, so 20 meters per second. Let's just gently burn to secure that. Alright, perfect. And now if we accelerate things a little bit, we should be looking for a good landing spot. I would ultimately like to have a landing spot with a view of Duna, so I'm thinking around here-ish, next to this like big volcano. However, I forgot one tiny thing, which is that Ike is tidally locked to Duna, so that means if I really wanted to get a nice Duna view, I would need to land where the Duna is visible in the Ike's sky, you know, in the Ike's skybox. And I forgot that because when I was doing the burn, I was just thinking, oh, let's pick up a nice landing spot that will have wonderful, you know, sunsets and whatnot, and eventually Duna will rise, you know, on the horizon. How wrong was I? Anyway, I wanted to land next to this, you know, volcano or, you know, mountain crater on top of the mountain. To me it looks like a good landing spot, and eventually I was hoping that the Duna rise would, you know, provide an additional cool picture. So somewhere around this area I have started to burn and hopefully find a nice... I was trying to find a nice flat area. So let's see if we manage to do that. I don't know how much Delta V that will take. So our budget totally has been 2000 Delta V, so let's see how much we will be spending this time. Alright, we're talking around 300 extra. So right now we are 2300 extra. And now we should be going for the soft landing somewhere in the mountains below. Let's hope I manage to find a nice flat area to land, because this one otherwise is gonna be a doozy. Alright. Yeah, as you see, there is no Duna. I was hoping that Duna would show its face beyond the horizon, and I forgot on the fact that it was, you know, tidally locked, that Ike was tidally locked to Duna. Yes, you know, the devil is in the details after all, guys. Anyway, we're just slowly descending down and hoping that we will have a nice soft touchdown. Here we go. Easy does it, Tiger. We are now dangerously close to our half a tank mark, so to say. I was thinking I would be using the top lander to land on the surface of Ike. To be perfectly honest, I didn't account for extra 400 meters per second in the tank, but I figured I have a large landing legs, so, you know, what's the worst thing that could happen? I'm gonna be landing using those. Okay, and... oh, stop bouncing around! I really hate these landing legs. And ladies and gentlemen, we have landed on the surface of Ike. Our total budget expended was roughly between 2.5 and 2.7 thousand meters per second, starting from the surface of Minmus. Now compare that to how much it would take you to go from Kerbin. A lot more. Right. Okay, so I've extended the ladders, and I completely forgot to put the ladders on the lower stage. So our good old friend here, you know, will need to go out, and come on, Bill, go for a walk, will ya? Proudly plant the flag of GrunfWorks, or, you know, just the KSP, somewhere on the surface of Ike, perform the ground experiments, bring us that sweet, sweet science that we will need to rely on to get our Kerbal space program into the next gear. Alright. And also try to shoot a good selfie while you're doing that, right? Okay, how about crew observation? He's looking around. Yeah, alright. Yeah, okay, run a surface survey. Yeah, it's nice to see you grab a rock or sand or something. He's thinking about something. Nah, nothing important, I guess. Alright, now let's plant a flag before we wrap it up for the day. Ike conquered. Yes, we have landed on Ike, going all the way from the Minmus colony. Beautiful. And for those of you hoping you will see a Duna rise on the surface, well, all I can tell you, tough luck. Right. Having said that, let's back our Kerbal back safely into his vehicle. There we go. Come on, Bill. Go up. Up and away. Kick it. Beautiful. In the next episode, I will be returning this thing back to Kerbin. Hopefully, it will be enough fuel. And if you want to find out, do subscribe. And I will be seeing you in my next video. Thank you very much for watching. This is GrunfWorks signing off with a finished contract.